Hello, Erica. Thank you for coming in today. How are you?
Um, I'm okay. I'm working through a recent breakup right now. Yeah.
Tell me more about this breakup.
Well, I met him in July, and I met him on Hinge, the dating app, and we really hit it off. He was very open with me. He was different from everybody else because we really connected. We had similar interests. Um, and he was great at communication, which is something that is really important to me. But he got laid off recently from his job, so he wanted to focus on finding a job, and that became his main focus. And he felt like it wasn't fair to me because his focus wasn't on me anymore. Um, and so it was more of his decision to split.
Right.
I was willing to work it through and, help him through this different part of his life. But I respect his decision, but it's been a transition because even though it's only been about 2 months since July, it's been a transition. Not talking to him every day and seeing him almost every day too.
You mentioned a couple of things.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that when you met him, you said you really connected. And another thing that you mentioned was, why you broke up in the first place. Because he felt that you deserved more. Because, he wasn't giving you the attention he thought maybe you deserved.
Yeah.
And it also sounds to me like you feel like you miss him. And it sounds like you were willing to make it work. And it's maybe frustrating to you or sad that he didn't want to.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely the frustrated part because, his family's actually back in Michigan.
Okay.
So, I would be, the support system he has close in California, to kind of help him through this different stage of his life. So yeah, definitely frustrated that he didn't want to accept the help that I was offering. Also a little hurt that he didn't want to accept the help that I was offering too.
So you repeated that twice.
Mm-hmm.
You repeated that he didn't want to accept the help that you were offering. What do you think that means?
I think it means that he isn't necessarily confident in himself, that if he needs to accept help from another person, that he looks like he's weak.
Right.
And I don't think he's comfortable feeling necessarily weak in that sense, that he needs to reach out for help.
For sure. However, when I was asking, what do you think that means? I was talking about you. What does that mean to you? What the because it sounds like, because you repeated it twice, you said, it kind of just hurts that he didn't want to accept my help. Do you think you're trying, or maybe what you're feeling is he didn't want to accept my love?
That is possible. That is very possible. Because in a relationship, you support each other. And it's, not always equal. One person may need more help in the time of their life than another. But yeah, now thinking about that, it almost seems like a red flag to me now. That in hindsight, that he didn't necessarily want to accept help, because we've only been seeing each other for maybe about 2.5 months.
Okay.
And this has already, come up, and we weren't able to work it through.
Right.
Yeah. So in hindsight, it looks like it's almost for the best in that case, if we weren't able to work something so big it through.
But I want to challenge you to go in a little bit deeper.
Okay.
We keep talking about, I feel like you keep trying to be this, so I feel like you're trying the best you can to look at this in the most positive light possible. But how do you, the fact that he didn't want to work this out with you and you were willing to, but he wasn't. What is it that you're really feeling?
Exhausted. Because, as you said, which is very true, being positive all the time is hard, especially if the other person isn't necessarily being positive too. It's emotionally draining because you're giving so much of yourself to try and help this person. It's hard to always be positive all the time.
Right. Taking a step back from that, it sounds like you're hurt. You're hurt that he wasn't willing to be there at your side through this difficult patch. And it sounds like you would have wanted him to.
No, for sure. Definitely.
And if you think it's appropriate, I'd like to encourage you to explore these feelings of hurt. And where does this come from? So first of all, tell me more about your feelings of hurt, assuming that you are hurt. So first of all, would you say you feel hurt because he wasn't willing to work this out with you and you would have done it?
Yes, I would definitely say that I am hurt from this decision.
Right. So tell me more about how you feel hurt. or what this hurt looks like to you or feels like to you?
For me, it's almost like a gut punch, because it feels like I'm not enough for him, even though I'm trying to help. It feels like my help is not enough. Not enough for him, not enough for the situation,
Right.
not enough for him to see past this and into our future. Yeah.
So something I keep hearing is your help was, so you said something really big that you just mentioned was you feeling like your help wasn't good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think anything else might have not been good enough for the relationship or for him? Do you feel anything in that regard?
From this situation and from what we've talked about, and have done when we've been together, no, I don't think so. I think this was like the first moment where something I've said hasn't really helped. Like in the past, he's shared his concerns, because he has been thinking about even changing jobs before he was laid off.
Right.
And, I've been supporting him by helping him. He had an offer from another job, so I was helping him with interview questions and helping him through that process.
Right.
So, in that sense, it was successful in a sense, my help.
Okay.
Because I felt like we were working together towards something.
Right.
But in this case, when he was laid off, what I was offering to him then didn't necessarily match up to my expectations as well.
Okay.
Especially with what we experienced with when I was helping him with the other job offer.
Right. So before we continue, I just wanted to let you know that there will be times where I stay silent. And the reason why I stay silent is so that I make sure I listen to everything that you're saying, I absorb it, and really put thought into it.
Okay.
So, just a heads up.
Okay.
So there was a couple of things that you mentioned. You mentioned that in the past, it seems like your advice or any form of help that you provided for this person has worked.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first time it's not working.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of the time that you were talking, you kept talking about him.
Mm-hmm.
And how he needs help, and it wasn't good enough for him. But let's talk about you. To me, it sounds like, and I could be wrong, it sounds like, because you mentioned you felt like it wasn't good enough, your help wasn't good enough. But I feel like in this context, help might be a synonym for love.
I can see your point. I can see that. I think for me, a way for me to show love is to help.